Hello and welcome to the Paul Weller Fan Podcast. I'm Dan Jennings, and on this episode, we hear from two incredible singer-songwriters in their own right, Weller alumni, who are collaborating together for a brand new album. My guests on this episode, Dr. Robert. Now, you know Robert from the Blow Monkeys, his incredible solo work, Monk's Road Social, and of course being part of Paul Weller's band at one point, and playing on those first three solo albums. And in fact, more recently, 66, the wonderful song Rise Up Singing, a collaboration between Robert and Paul. Matt Deighton, you'll know from being part of Weller's band at the tail end of the 90s. Also, of course, Mother Earth, Family Silver, and some great solo material as well. And this is going to be lovely. I love a little double header. We're going to head to Spain, first of all, to say hello to Dr. Robert.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to see you.
Muy bien. ¿Y tú?
I was going to ask you if it's nice and warm.
You're doing it in Spanish, aren't we, Dan? You did.
Is that what that was? I was going to ask you if it's warm there, but you've got a scarf on, so I'm assuming not.
No, I live up in the mountains and we get proper weather up here. I mean, it's good for us olive farmers, but the English lot are complaining about it and want to go home, which is good. I love it. We've had proper biblical rainfall here for the last couple of weeks. You know what's coming. Inevitably, it will get very hot.
Now, Matt Deighton, you're in Wales, right? So talk about biblical weather. I mean, that's all going on there, right? Are you in the mountains of Wales, or whereabouts in Wales are you?
Sort of up in North Wales near Snowdonia, I suppose. Yeah, in the hills, and it's actually quite warm out today. We've been pressing some olives and everything.
Yeah.
They're not known for their olives in Wales, are they?
No, we've got a thimble already from a field. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thimble's worth.
I remember those olive trees in Snowdonia.
They're famous.
Yeah.
They were there before the hills, you know.
I'm delighted to be talking about this musical project that the two of you have collaborated on. And are we calling this a band? What is it?
It should be band. No, what is it? It's a combination, isn't it? It's a, what do you say, Robert?
A happy accident.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a band, no. But I've known Matt quite a while now, but we got to know each other through doing the Monk's Road thing. But it goes further back. I mean, I remember, I haven't told him it, but I saw Mother Earth years ago, when he had a moustache and long hair. And we used to share the same manager, Johnny Chandler, a guy called Johnny Chandler.
Oh, yeah, I know Johnny. He was at Universal for quite a long time and worked on the Weller catalogue a lot.
Johnny's always popping up everywhere. Lovely fella. And so I knew about Matt and then listened to Villager and things like that when he put those out. And so later on, fast forward, I got to know him through doing the Monk's Road things with Richard. We bonded over a mutual love of the same sort of music, I guess.
So you'd never connected in the Weller years, because obviously, Robert, you were really deeply connected with Paul during all that kind of.
No, we never crossed over. I was working with Paul like Style Council days because no one in that lot could work a sampler, and I'm the guy that reads the manual. So I was known as the Akai Kid. That was what they called me and the records. And then I ended up playing bass because he was always sacking his bass players. And because I lived near the manor, so I ended up playing all over the first three solo albums. And I think Matt's tenure was a bit later.
Yeah, so you were Heavy Soul time, Matt.
Actually, it was the next album, wasn't it? So the
Heavy Soul.
One after Stanley One that you joined.
Right, yeah. First time me and Robert met, I think back on the little label I was on, the Acid Jazz lot, and they did like a 5 years thing at Ealing Film Studios. So I think you were there, Robert, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I said hello there. And then am I right, your niece was working at the studios, Kirsty?
Yeah. Kirsty was working in the studios. Yeah, that's right. With Eddie Pillar. Yeah. Yes. And it was, she's got fond memories of that. That's right. That's when we met back there. There was a lot of crossover, at that time.
All the time, yeah, all the time.
So the Monk's Road Social was obviously a very deep connection that continued for 3-4 albums and a huge big project. There's a lot of collaboration on that with so many people. What did the two of you really bond over the most?
It's got to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Me and Robert were doing some backing vocals. For me, anyway, I thought this is easy and natural blend. Our reference points were like early T-Rex, Beard of Stars, wasn't it, really? And when Ride a White Swan came out, my mum and dad bought me and my brother what they thought was the album that was on. But it was a compilation on Fly Records called Fly Back that had all the weird stuff like Blessed White Apple Girl and Elemental Child. So, and I worked out I was 4 when I was listening to it.
I remember that album because I think it might have had Once Upon the Seas of Abyssinia on it, or maybe, I don't know, those sort of things. Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, I grew up listening to T-Rex was like the massive thing for me, obviously. Again, Ride White Swan. But then later on, after I think the year that Mark died, I took a deep dive into the Tyrannosaurus Rex albums because they reissued them all as kind of double packs.
Hoofers.
And I was learning to play guitar at the same time, and they were really easy to learn. And so there's something, it just kind of entered my DNA, that kind of the groove, the feel, the chords. It was easy stuff, but it was also magical and otherworldly and sad because he died. For me, it was a big year. My father had died the same year. I'd moved to Australia. So I was emotionally kind of like way open, and I was just learning to play guitar. And so it kind of entered my soul in a way, and it stayed there because basically it's very easy stuff. It's Eddie Cochran with Tolkien on top and all sorts of magical things going on. And so when I met Matt, I could sense straight away that we had this thing that we had in common. This kind of in some ways beyond words, really. It's just about how you play and how you hear music.
Yeah, and you found that, the collaboration side of things is an enjoyable process for both of you. You've worked with so many amazing people as well, but you found that there was a connection there as well in terms of making music together.
Yeah. I personally found it easy because there was no ego clash. I might not have been able to do that 20 years ago,
I was going to say, because both of you at one point, there was a bit of ego going on probably in the careers earlier on, right?
Of course, when you're younger, you're competitive. You want to do, and that's the thing I liked about the Monks Road thing was that it was basically I just got my friends in and then they brought their friends in and we made records together and it was good fun. It was proper collaboration,
And what did you find working with Robert then in terms of that collaboration? And then we'll talk about this album, how this came about.
Just natural, just really easy, which is what Rob was saying, really, just really easy. You didn't have to think about it. There's no barriers in the way, just direct to the tunes. Coming up with harmonies, but like not working them out. Me and Rob just do harmonies and do a vocal bit, and it's like, don't know where that came from, but that's good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Plus the atmosphere at Mono Valley, the studio,
special.
Special. Got to mention Richard Clark for putting all of us lot together from all the times here and there back, and Galliano, and like everyone sort of turned up and like, bloody hell. Oh, great. This is lovely. So the atmosphere overall was just, I don't think there wasn't anyone that was spiky. Probably
It was, but we won't mention them.
They've not been part of it recently, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think I was a bit of a moody fucker, but
no, you weren't. You were easy. It was. There were core players. There was like Crispin Taylor playing drums on a lot of the stuff, and Crispin was like a core thing. Mick Talbot coming in. Mick is so easy and lovely to work with, and obviously he's worked. Both of those guys worked a lot with Matt before as well. Yeah. So we did. There were lots of people we knew, but there were new people coming in too all the time. And Richard, he used to come to our gigs when we got back together with the Blind Monkeys and all that, and he started talking to me about he'd like to put some label together, and I just thought it was like dreaming, really. But then he put his money where his mouth was, and we sort of went to Mono Valley, and he's a real big music fan. He wasn't coming from the kind of the music biz angle. He didn't really know much about that. So it was kind of naive, but lovely because we made the record in that spirit, or those records,
And Matt, from your point of view, this project, coming at it, The Instant Garden, you've got this kind of, we talked about the musical influences and these references that you have, these connections, but in terms of creating something that's the two of you, your own project, how did that come about?
From the Monks Road albums down at the Willows and Humanism and stuff, the more me and Robert were on these sessions, where Robert was producing it and I was sort of making tea now and again or whatever and singing and chucking in a tune.
Coffee.
Coffee, yeah, bloody hell. I think we just thought it'd be a good idea to do a record in the spirit of, not just of sort of Mark Bolan and Steve Peregrine Took and Mickey Finn and everyone, but those reference points just seemed natural, and it was like, we'll do something. Again, like Richard Clark just said, well, I'll put you in the studio. And I then went, full tilt into the Tyrannosaurus Rex albums I didn't have. That was all I was listening to. And we figured out, well, it was done in a week, those LPs, live, quick. They probably were. So I think it was 5 days getting there and leaving with a mix for 5 days. They're just sitting opposite each other, weren't we?
Yeah.
You couldn't really go over anything because you'd sung and played.
And is it a true collaboration in terms of that you wrote together, or did you both bring separate songs to the party, as it were?
Separate tunes.
Separate songs. Obviously the Tyrannosaurus Rex thing was a starting point, but after the band broke up, I did a real deep dive into the kind of Greenwich Village thing, which takes you all the way back through the Harry Smith folk anthology, all the way back. You went back with Son House. So I was really into people like Fred Neil and Tim Hardin, Tim Buckley and Tim Rose. In fact, anyone called Tim.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that came into it. So, you know, I didn't want it to be, and we didn't want it to be like a Bowman pastiche. And then Matt's got all these other kind of wonderful influences that he brought in and tells me about that I'd never heard of. That were kind of these magical things that were, and like you said, he just put a mic or two mics sometimes. I think there might have been one mic at one point between us, and we just did it live and played on each other's songs. And then Matt would do a guitar overdub, which I was fascinated to watch because, you know, they were first takes. Every time he just stands there and just plays it as if it's like just flowing out of him guitar wise. And then just leaving that. We mixed the whole album in a couple of hours at the end with a guy who was there, John Lawrence, who was an ex-member of various bands in North Wales. Because the studio was it's quite a mythical place with Laurie Gain as well. He had a studio called Bethesda where he'd recorded Super Furry Animals and lots of Welsh bands to start off with. So there's a magic kind of vibe to it as well.
There's quite a vulnerability around that though, isn't there? There's obviously a real trust between the two of you, like two guys literally facing each other with their guitars, playing their songs. And I mean, that's not easy to do, is it?
Yeah, it is. Because we've been doing it for quite a while. It is easy, I think.
But not with everybody, right? I guess that's the thing. You've got that thing between the two of you. You couldn't just do that with anybody, surely.
Yeah, most of the time.
No, I know what you mean. It can be difficult with certain people. I knew this would work because we had done this in the Monk's Road thing. We'd done a couple of tunes where I knew it would work. Yeah. You know, I just had to figure out, his songs have got much more complicated chords than mine. So I had to figure out what they were and pretend I knew what they were and just find something that worked and play along. I think if you go into it with the right spirit like that, and that's what Monk's Road was really good for, because it was genuinely one of those that's part of the ego at the door. Because anyone that came in with that kind of attitude, it just wouldn't work. So we just carried on with that same mindset, I think.
It's a really beautiful LP in the sense as well. You get that feeling of those kind of beautiful, quiet acoustic moments, those sensitive moments. But then we have some proper like rock outs, like Instant Garden, the track that opens side 2, like a real rock out, even kind of like, what was it, like Family Silver type rock out, right? You wanted that balance and that flow. And I guess that's all sides of T-Rex when you think about it as well, right? There's all those elements to that too. But there's obviously a thought around how the album flows as well.
Well, it's funny actually. I got the test pressing the other day, so it's like official, you know, it's like side 1 and side 2. And I love the fact it's fallen into place. That we did do a track listing, there was a few, and then I sort of was umming and ahhing about bits. So I mean, the usual sort of stuff. Am I right to say it fell into place in like the 11th hour? And how it ends, it's all sort of laid out natural. It all flows really well. And I don't know, it's sort of kind of, I sound kind of cliche, but it kind of wrote itself. It felt like it was sort of to a point. I don't remember what I was doing on it. I don't usually get that with a record I'm on. I'm too involved in it. I could sit back and get a rough idea what it might sound if I wasn't on it. You know, if I didn't play on it, I mean, you know, this sounds natural. I mean, I've got to say that with John miking up the guitar, I love this little bit. I've been trying to get a decent guitar sound for years personally, like what I can hear in a room. The only thing I used to love was Reverend Eugene McDaniel's Outlaw and Headless Heroes of the Apocalypse. Two big albums, didn't get anywhere. The guitar just had a location to it in a room. And when we went to do, I think, the electric, I sort of went, "Oh, are you going to mic up this amp over there?" And he went, "No, just leave the mic where it was where you were sitting," which is quite a way away. I love that. The sound of it's just sort of done its own thing. I know we produced it when we sat there a bit, in a way, blended it, but there was something else happened on it without sounding too pretentious. But it's just just sounds like fun.
That always happens at Laurie's studio. You go in and you think, well, it looks a bit downtrodden. You think that's not going to work. You know, the headphones never work properly. This doesn't work. There's rain dripping in here. These amps look like they're going to blow up any minute. And these microphones, surely you bought them at Tandy's. But it always sounds amazing. So we didn't really produce it. We just played. And that, honestly, it would take to mix it. They probably took 15 minutes a track. It was just, we did it there and then. I don't know. There's a wonderful freedom to that, especially in this age where you can spend so long and you can get so much perfection and blah, blah, blah. But Matt had a good overview on it. I think he's saying it fell into place, but you were quite good. You had a good view on the running order and you took one off that didn't really work and put one back on that did work. And it certainly fell into place when you put that track Philosophy back on, which I was a bit iffy about. It worked, and you took the one off that didn't work. And the way it looks and the artwork and the test pressings and all, Matt's really good at all that kind of stuff, the making it all a whole piece. And it's quite rare. I mean, I don't really know anything else like it at the moment. Or anyway, you know.
Let me ask you about a couple of the tracks on it. So album opener, Already There, is presumably a Robert song. You sing it, Robert. So you always sing in your own, I would guess, right? That's how it works. But there's a little, I mean, I'm not going to mention Weller all the way through this, I promise, but there is a little, it does sound a little Weller-like with Night Lights off of the album 22 Dreams for me. But it's a beautiful song. Where does that come? Has that been in the mix for a while?
Not really. That's the kind of the Fred Neil kind of thing, but a bit West Coast thing. I don't know. When we said we're going to do it, I wrote the songs really quickly. What I tend to do is like I'll sit in the living room, and Michelle, my wife, she's really into gardening, and she had this gardening magazine. I basically just sang the words from that. One was called The Instant Garden. I thought I'll have that. And there was another one called Gardening in the Mediterranean. I'll have that. I didn't even bother changing them. Practical Solutions for a Sunny Day. That's nice. That rhymes. I'll have that as well. So really, I suppose Monty Don is the biggest inspiration.
I thought there was a real art and science to this and a lot of effort, Robert. But
I'm letting the cat out of the bag. Oh, actually, that's the next album. It's not quite so simple. But, to be honest, that's what it was. For my part, anyway, the writing part was real quick because I didn't want to overthink it. And I certainly didn't do that.
Well, let me ask Matt. I mean, I feel like we're going to go down a similar route here because track number 2 was called Dude in a Roller. So I'm assuming this is, you just happen to see a fella in a Rolls Royce, right?
Oh. Well, it's from a picture by Keith Morris, who did all, photographed everyone from, all Stiff Records and everyone. Sort of friend of my wife's, actually. I remember seeing a picture of Bolan laughing, but it was actually, he's in a Cadillac when I really looked at it. He's not in a roller. So it's just about, little reference points about, a Rolls Royce and a dude in it. But there's some chords in there that I was listening to how untutored, if you like, Mark Bolan's playing was. It was free because he didn't know. I love all that. He didn't know what to put that there. There's no rules. So I had a few of these chords that I would normally not have done and thought, they're gorgeous. They're just free chords. Yeah, it's just trying to sort of bear a bit of T-Rex in mind. And then, I suppose there was one, I think when Richard and his lady came along, I can't remember what it was. It was one tune I'd written. I wasn't quite sure of it. I think we were halfway through. I think we might have sort of done a take. I was singing on it. I was playing guitar, and I just stopped halfway through and said, "This is appalling." Richard, I think they were sort of like nodding in the control room, going, "Yeah, it's all right." And I thought, this is like having your pants down in a bag. This is disgusting. This is rubbish. Maybe I'm finished. So I that's what been deleted that. So that I'm a bit worried. There's a few songs I think. Well,
we should have kept that.
I say there's many songs by me, but there's a few I think, is that you? Because if it is, I'd forget it. Do landscape gardening like me.
We've all got those ones. Landscape gardening, I did try, but it didn't rhyme. I couldn't make it, scan. Dude in a Cadillac, it's not quite the same, is it?
It doesn't quite work, does it? No, you're right.
Eating a Caramac or something. It doesn't work. But Dude in the Roller, I get Dude in the Roller the minute I heard it. I understood because I know that picture by Keith Morris. He was brilliant. Yeah, I knew that picture, but I knew, and I thought, it's about Mark. You see that, but it's really about the spirit of the age. It's the period of time. It's Mark sang that great lyric about I've got a Rolls Royce because it's good for my voice, but you won't fool the children of the revolution. Takes some guts to sing that, but it's wonderfully free. It's like, I have spoken to Tony Visconti about it because we did a lot of stuff at Good Earth at his studio, and he really only did know 4 chords. And there would just be inversions, and then he would solo in the wrong key. Yeah. But be so convinced that it was right that he left it and used it, and it sounds great. Yeah. There's something in that spirit we connected to.
There were 2 other tracks I wanted to ask you about. So one was actually closes side 1, God is Nature. This feeling of where do I belong, where do I belong, where do I belong type of thing. We're constantly trying to work that out ourselves in life, particularly in the world that we live in at the moment, right? So I don't mean frightening and absolute chaos and stuff.
I was listening to this there's a record called Space Hymns by, I'm going here, by Ramesses, right? It's got a Roger Dean sleeve, and it's basically this bloke and his lady she's called Cellcat. He used to sell radiators, but then he thought he was Ramesses. The other one's called Glass Top Coffin. Not such a nice title. I like the boldness. They would repeat one line for 5 minutes. Chanting, I suppose. I wanted to do something like that because I always had to get loads of words everywhere, and I thought I'm going to do as least amount work as possible and let that do its thing, I guess. So, but yeah, and it's just about, it's not too deep. It's just, I'm just interested in what happens when you're dead. I think you just go elsewhere. Because I mean, I saw a ghost a month ago up in the forest. I love all stuff like that. This place has got a few things going on in it. I probably haunted it myself, but just a sort of what happens next kind of thing. But it's only loose. It's really just music for beanbags, you know.
Well, you say it's loose, but then we played it, and then he went and did this electric guitar overdub, which is like the glue, and it's kind of this mesmeric riff that he plays over it, which really gives it the atmosphere and gives it, you know, its magic.
I love that artistry of you guys going, oh, what this now needs is this thing, and then you go and do that, and it just lifts it. The other song I was going to ask you about was a similar thing, really, Endless Circle, which just sounds so beautiful and lush. I mean, the playing on that is just absolutely stunning between the two of you, but it feels like there's more and more layers on that than some of the other songs, perhaps. I don't know. That's
got a funny feeling to that song. I don't know. It's a bit different. It's in line with Crying Like a Child, which I also think is like God is Nature again. It's got that chant thing. That's it. You got one line and then you get absorbed into it. But yeah, Endless Circle's just got its own thing. I don't know if you've noticed this, Rob, but there's a track on there. It might be Endless Circle, and there's like not a mouth, but like a juice heart. I swear it's something in the background, and neither of us are playing it, but it's in the background somewhere.
That's that ghost.
It's really odd because I slept at the side of the studio, that side room.
Yeah.
For the first few nights, I thought, oh, Rob or Michelle's over the other side making a coffee, but it's like late.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's Laurie's studio. Yeah, no, I get it. I get that. There were things. I mean, we did a few overdubs. I think I did a couple of bass bits, and I think Matt obviously overdubbed electric guitar. There's a few bits of percussion, bells, and things like that. Yeah, it's just bigger than the sum of its parts sometimes, and there's no. I think Endless Circle's got these wonderful chords. I don't even know how much I think I was bluffing it. Probably why it sounds quite, you know, and it just sounds open and special. What you're doing is you're catching a performance. We sang and played at the same time, both of us at the same time. If you can do that and you can get a good take, which we did mostly, we didn't do more than 3 takes of anything, as I recall, then you got it. Before self-consciousness kicks in, before not this way of kind of stacking bits on bits on bits to make a record. That's one way of doing it, and we've all done that, and that's great. But there's so much freedom and loveliness when you can do it with somebody like Matt, who you know is lifting your game, and the both of us will make something bigger than we thought, because something else comes in. And you can only get that really by playing opposite each other like that, you know.
Thank you for sharing it in advance, which is always an absolute honour. So you're taking this out on the road?
We are eventually. We've had to put it back a bit, but we're going out in December. We're doing the 229, and we're putting other dates around it, and hopefully we can carry on after that, because I'd love to take this to festivals and do all sorts with it, because, you know, it's just the two of us. We travel light.
Yeah, it's portable.
Yeah.
Robert, I don't know if you listened to Matt's podcast when he was on previously, but have you heard of his shenanigans on the road? You're aware of his reputation?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. It's okay.
Oh God, that was many moons ago. I now I'm just drinking, you know, what is it? Milk. And,
Like my 10-year-old.
Just don't.
How many pints do we get on the rider then?
Well, this is what I'm getting anxious about, because I usually have
yeah, skimmed, full fat. What are we going for?
Is it cow's milk, oats milk, soy milk? We'll go into that later. Anyway.
I'm at the moment, I'm on cashew milk.
Okay.
It sounds like the Fast Show. This week, I've mostly been drinking cashew milk.
Do you get much milk from a cashew nut? I don't know.
Not horse milk like your dad was selling at one point.
No, he's terrible. He's made up a fake sign. He's only 82.
You'll get over it.
You get over it.
You'll grow out of it.
Where we are around here is all farms, you know. So he's got one horse milk for sale, and I think there was a few. That's another podcast or another.
As you can see, we're not short of ideas for the next album.
Yeah, no.
We're moving into dairy now, and
small holdings is the next one.
How chaotic were back in the day? The Blow Monkeys on the road, was that a kind of full chaos, full tilt? Did you go full rock and roll?
I'm not telling you, Dan. I've got people that I don't want to upset.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to this live. The album comes out in May, so dates from December. I have to ask as well, what's next? So there's always so much brilliant music coming out of you. And Matt, let me nail you down, right? So I saw a little post from the lovely lady Catherine Williams the other day. We talk about potentially you two collaborating. When we last spoke, there was some work with Steve White in a thing called Heritage Act. There was talk of, when I met you last, you were talking about writing with DC Lee, I think. What's going on? And the new solo album in the can, what's the next thing? Come on, update me on all those things.
Born out of all of them. I'm just doing an instrumental banjo EP.
Sponsored by the Milk Board.
Yes, Unigate. It's the way to go. No, Catherine was over here a couple of days ago. I then went over to her folks up in just behind where Lennon's house was. So they gave me a little quick tour of like Strawberry Fields, and it was really good. We're going to write about the songs that are off of Penny Lane that have got ignored, like Oakdale Road and Dudley Lane. I'm going on tour with Catherine, doing a support and then playing guitar with her, plus road testing, as they say, an album we've pretty much got written. That's for next year. And then, of course, with me and Robert later in the year, ideally at some point we'll do another one. Part 2 or in a different...
Yeah, we'll do something different, though, where we only play brass instruments opposite each other.
Back to back.
Yeah, not facing each other this time. So, yeah.
You can't do that with brass, no, and cancel each other out. But, I mean, no, I would love to do another one down the road, yeah. And I'm looking forward to playing live, because that'll be fun. I'm lucky. I've got the band, and that's a very different thing. But this is... freedom of this will be really exciting.
Oh, well, I really look forward to that live. So, Robert, for you next. So, what do we have recently? We had the last Blow Monkeys album towards the end of last year, Together Alone, which was lovely. The brilliant Celebration gig in London, where I think I've worked out that's the most podcast guests on one stage at any moment in time, I've realised. So, it was you, Mick, Rhoda, Steve Sedelnik, Boggers from Stone Foundation, even Lawrence Watson was floating about taking photos and stuff. That was a wonderful gig just before Christmas. It's brilliant.
Peter Capaldi turned up again amongst road. Yeah, that was great. And what we've done, we recorded a new album for Alan McGee's label, actually, which is coming out in August, called Birdsong. You see, there's a theme emerging here. So that's coming out in August, and we've got a few gigs coming up, but we're touring in October. We're doing it with the Christians, the band, not the religious movement. Just in case you think we've taken a turn. So busy with that, but and then at the end of the year, the 229 with Matt, and so it goes.
Am I right in thinking the Blow Monkeys album, the new one, then was recorded at Blackburn? Was that right?
That's right. Went down to Blackburn. I hadn't been there before.
Did you not? What did you make of it? Have you been there, Matt? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I did the Common Good down there, most of it. It's lovely. Annoyingly, I wanted to nick a chair from Abbey Road when we were doing the Dr. John thing. Paul's got one of the stalls. I should have got one of the chairs. I tried nicking one last time I was there, and I thought, you don't want to get arrested for stealing a bit of furniture.
Not easy to get out with a chair, though, is it? I mean,
no, I know. I tried. He was propping up the door, and I asked one of the brothers, I said, do you need that chair? And he went, what do you mean? I said, well, do you want it? Do you want it? He went, well, they're all spoken for. And then I saw that they got security now. I'm like, oh, go on, do it. No, I can't do it. I've had a criminal record for
getting caught would be embarrassing.
We mentioned Blackburn, so let me finish that conversation, Robert. So we've talked on this conversation on this podcast about the kind of magic of a studio, which sounds like nuts, right? Because it's just a room with four walls like any other. But the studios you've talked about on this podcast, and Blackburn's, it comes through a lot in the conversations I have as well. There is a real magic in lots of these places, right?
Yeah, I mean, Charles is a big part of that, for me anyway, because I hadn't worked there before. So, but I mean, obviously, I'd worked a lot in Port. I mean, we recorded the first Blow Monkeys album in 83 at Solid Bond and Marble Arch. I'd been in that kind of studios with Paul before. But my magic memory is Trident, actually, in St Anne's Court. That was the one that, because obviously that's where those records that we're talking about were made. And that was magic. Just because you walk out and where you are, you're between Wardour Street and Dean Street and you're in St Anne's Court. It's just, I'm still knocked out by the magic of that, of Soho. There's still something special about it for me. And even though lots of those studios have disappeared. And Laurie's studio initially it was in Bethesda, and that was really special, but there's just something about the way he puts it together. Laurie is a bit of a mentor for me. He was an original member of the Yardbirds way back, but he could only play in the key of E, so he got kicked out and replaced by Eric Clapton. and he went on to lecture in art at the Royal Academy, I think, and he wrote a book on Nietzsche, and he's like this cross between Bo Diddley and a philosopher. He's always had magic about his studios. So it's the people that made these places, and obviously the ghosts.
This has been such a delight. Thank you both for your time. Look, I look forward to this going out into the world. It's always, how do you feel about that when you're kind of about to release these things? Do you get nervous about the release? Are you searching through your social media channels? What are you doing?
Just excited by it, really. It's lovely to be on Last Night from Glasgow. Ian's just through Robert and Michelle. That was a great surprise. He's a lovely bloke. So a record to me is not official unless it's on vinyl. If it's CD, it's okay. I'm not being, it sounds a bit up myself, but it has to go on a turntable here. I've had if it's as good as a test pressing.
This was one that has to be on vinyl. I think it works because it's two sides. You have a break, you put the other side. That's how it's meant to be heard, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a great label, Last Night from Glasgow. There is a really lovely guy. He's got a unique kind of way of running his label, very orientated towards the musicians. So it's been a pleasure to work with. I'm sure we will do more, but I'll be dishonest if I didn't tell you that, I do go and check the social media, but I have to really be careful what I say because you get bombed up. But for me, the record, I'm not expecting it to crash into this, I just think it's great to have it out there, and I think it'll be a slow burn. And I think some people will listen and really love it because one thing it is authentic and unique. I don't think there's anything else like it, really.
It's going to sound beautiful on the vinyl. It's funny, I've got back into the vinyl since lockdown because I got rid of it all. I turned it into MP3 or CDs or whatever. Yeah. But now got back into, so I've started buying things back again. So got all your reissues, Matt, been getting all your stuff, Robert. On this one, I've ended up, I can't remember even doing this, I'll be honest with you. So I've ended up ordering the special package where I get one of the test pressings. I get a couple of versions of the album, I think, with some seeds.
I told you. It's just the beginning for us. I think we're going to be touring market gardens, and there's a theme that we're barking upon here that we're only scratching the surface.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing you at Glow at Wisley for Christmas next year at a gig. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
There's going to be a big show at Chelsea Flower.
I think they're touring the Dobbies, right? They've got the garden centres. Yeah.
We're being endorsed by Unwin, so just every day is just
not Stanley Unwin's.
That'd be great. Imagine his seeds, Stanley Unwin seeds. That'd be very confusing plants.
That's another album.
This has been such a delight. I knew it would be. Thank you so much, gents, for joining me, and look forward to this going out in the world and then the live gigs later on in the year. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers. Thank you, Dan.
See you later. Cheers.
What a blast that was. My thanks once again to Dr. Robert, Matt Deighton. The Instant Garden is the new album. Head to lastnightfromglasgow.com to find out all the details. And if you're lucky, there'll still be some of that sage green or white rose vinyl up for grabs. It's a cracking album. If you enjoyed that episode, why not head to my website, grab yourself a virtual coffee. Just go to my store, you'll find our podcast merchandise. But if you don't want to buy a mug, a t-shirt or whatever, you can just tip us a few quid for a virtual coffee. It's always appreciated. Please spread the word on social media as well. Instagram, Facebook, you'll find us as Paul Weller Fan Podcast, and on X, @WellerFanPod, and on the World Wide Web, paulwellerfanpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.